So we have with us LaKeisha Poole. Oh, is that me?
That's not me, but hi guys.
Did
It's
I get
all
that right,
good.
LaKeisha Poole?
Yep, talk about LaKeisha Poole or Key Poole or Keisha Poole. It's all good. Yep, I love it. Thank you for that. And yay! Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, okay, so I have a 2-year-old, and
Aw,
we got the little iPad thing, and we're really trying to navigate that right now.
uh-huh.
Technology and toddlers, and I think
Yeah,
she hid it in here, and it's connected to my wife's phone. So if her phone, if it happens again, I'm gonna, yeah. So
yeah, it's
that's what I have.
okay. Cause I work with kids, so
Yeah,
I'm totally
they
cool with
hide
that. And
things,
I'm a mom too. So
right? Four kids, right?
I do. Yeah. I was getting it in, man. But I do. I have four. And
Yeah,
ages, my youngest will be 15 soon. Then I'll have a 20-year-old,
yeah.
and then a 24-year-old and a 27-year-old. So
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. So let the baby do what the baby gotta do.
Yes. Yeah. Trust me. She's the boss. There's moments when I'm like, okay, who's leading who here? Because he's like, Daddy, look, come with me. And it's like, come on, you can't fight that.
Yeah, you
Try
know
as
what?
you may.
I wish my kids at that time had tablets.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
even when I got down to the youngest one, which will be 15, that's when they
Yeah.
start coming out with the DS game system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wanted to take that to school. Then I would get a phone call because he took his DS to school, and I'm like, "You calling me about this? But you're not calling me about that. He's not engaging with his schoolwork and things like that." So, whatever, man. Let these kids be kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the fact that he brought it in there, I mean, kids' behavior. Well, I mean, as educators, we know their behavior is it's a story, right? It's a way of
Yeah,
communicating.
absolutely. It's a way of communicating. And I always believe in, each child is they're creative in their own way, but then they need the guidance and they need the discipline and things like that too. So we have to be supportive and just encourage them to be who they are. Not like they're in a regime. This right foot, left foot, this everybody has their own creative way of bringing what they need to bring as an individual to our society. And that's what I love about everything. Everyone is so different. And kids are that way. They're very creative. They're only taught that certain things are a certain way. But we have to really, you see something creative in your kid, push them. If it's writing, if it's the arts, push them too, because that's what's going to help them to be great.
Well, I mean, I can speak to that. Like as a kid, I did all the sports, right? I did hockey because I'm in Canada. I'm in Vancouver, and I hated it. And it was like, Dad, I want to do like theater. And my dad, God bless him, but he was he was like a man's his ideas of what a man was are very dated, I would say.
Right.
Which I'm happy to report are dated. Like you talk about it in your podcast. You have to do your path when you
That's
talk about
right.
the shift, right? That
But you
that
know what? I just did that. You are so right. I just did the shift. My podcast has been like my main thing has been about the journey of life, right? And that's what we're living. It's no right or wrong in this journey. It's just really making the right choices that's going to work for you.
yeah.
And I had to learn that as I've gotten older because I was always compromising, for our parents, my mom and dad, or life, or your spouse, or in a relationship. But at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you and what's healthy. And the shift, you brought that up. The shift is really it's just been coming up to me like in the last year or so, that quote, just about shifting, change, growth. I've been feeling like that probably since the pandemic. We're always excited for the new year. And then this is what I want to do. This is great. This is new. And it's always good to have goals. Always have something in front of you that makes you want to just get up every day. And I'm gonna strive for this. This is what I'm gonna do. And you accomplish that in your day. You make those small goals daily. But the shift definitely is really, really true when it comes to um, walking in that change in that process of becoming a better you. So I'm really focusing on that this year for myself. I really am. Yeah.
I struggle with consistency. Like I
Yeah.
get really motivated, you know what I mean? I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get up at 5 a.m. every day. And then you have kids. And as you mentioned, they're doing their own thing, right? Like try as we may to fit them into the box. They're not staying in the box. They're getting out of there, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's tough for me to be rigid. Like I make excuses. So what advice do you have for that? Like how do you stay disciplined?
You know what it is? Not beating yourself up. You
Yeah.
know, every minute, every hour of the day, this is who I am. And accepting that, maybe the first hour of my day wasn't so great. Maybe I woke up and I felt groggy and I just didn't feel like who myself. I have anxiety. I've suffered with depression for 20 years. So really knowing who you are and knowing, certain things about yourself that, people aren't honest. They aren't honest. Like I was talking about in the shift in the latest podcast, Simplicity podcast, is your truth, knowing who you are and knowing that it's some days that I may feel like I'm just ready for the world. Go in my classroom. Good morning. Good morning. The good morning song. I'm ready. But I might not have, gotten out the bed that way.
Yeah.
Having a partner, having somebody in your life, a friend, that or anybody that can just listen to you kind of vent, but not really judge you, is
Pardon
great.
me, I'm gonna grab that tablet thing. Give me 1 sec. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Get this thing. I just threw
That's all.
that thing into the room like a grenade. I was
It's
like,
all good. You know
"Put
what?
it on
Because it gave me a chance to sip on my
there
juice
you
here.
go." Oh man, my
Yeah, it's
apologies.
okay. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
fine. Yep. But you know what? Just finding that, just being able to find that, I always say that center point, that focal point in your day and in your life, and just having a really good support system
Yeah.
and really good, maybe friends or a friend, or somebody, or like for me, I may do, like I always talk about this on my podcast, getting up and having a daily affirmations, or like even behind me. So when the pandemic happened, I had to turn my part of my room into
Right.
my backdrop. So I have quotes. I have things that's right here that's like, be yourself and tomorrow's not planned. And those things I love to wake up to. Even if you walk in my house, it's like things like that. That really I have to read it to just stay focused. So nobody is perfect. We want perfection, but you only grow through mistakes. You only grow through life, through your journey, through your walk. You know, so that's all I can say is just be true to yourself and accept the failures. If I had a bad day and I failed at this, I didn't make the right decision or the right choice. It's the same thing I talk to my students. Are you making the right choices? Okay, maybe I need to put your face or your name down on the yellow, or we're gonna move it to the red. It's really teaching children that's why I love early child education. You're
Mm.
teaching them early to make choices, not to be always told what to do. But you know what? They have to be taught that if you do a certain thing, this might make you feel some way or make somebody else feel a certain way. But at the end of the day, some of your choices aren't bad. It's just that we need to make better decisions, even as adults. So that's what helps
Absolutely.
me out. Yeah.
I I heard like because you're discussing the importance of having these mantras and like we all need that, right? These things that we can remember kind of on demand, that cognitive behavioral therapy piece, like our thoughts become our feelings and vice versa. And
Exactly.
Oh, great. Now I forgot what I was. Oh, I read this one the other day that the boy is the father to the man. The
Ooh.
boy is the father to the man.
You know what?
And
I like that.
I never would have understood that
I love that.
until I
Yeah.
became a parent. Like you can understand something abstractly, like uh I can't think of a good example, but this is a house. This is what a house looks like. And then people draw a house, but there's many different types of houses. But you know
Yeah.
abstractly what a house is. But then you experience something like that and you know fundamentally what it is without the words. And so
Mhm.
seeing that the boy is the father to the man made me think
You-
about my journey as a parent. And I was like,
Yeah.
I get it now. Because I was a kid when my daughter was born. I was like,
Right.
I have no idea what I'm doing. And I
Right.
still don't, but I pretend that I do. But she's
Right. That's really deep. I love that. And I'm gonna tell you why. I just had a conversation earlier today where I'm like, I'm more of the wild. My kids are very, their
good.
personalities are different from me. They're not like, oh, they in the party at the club. Boop, boop, boop,
Yeah,
boop, 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 boop. They go to work, they come home. I'm like, man, they're so boring. Because I'm used to like, I'm in my almost my mid 40s. I'm 46. So
yeah,
I'll be 47 in 2 months. So I'm always, I want to go, I want to go,
yeah,
I want to party,
yeah,
party, party. And then they're like work and come home and college or whatever they want, want to do. And I always said my kids have been more of a maybe the parent
yeah,
than me.
yeah.
So when you said that, I was like, man, I just said this earlier how my children are really like the opposite of me.
Mhm.
Or if they are wild and they want to party, I don't see it because they're always home. Like they're here
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So,
But
so I really
it's
love that you said
interesting.
that.
Yeah. But generate, you know what? It's interesting. Generations, when we're young, we look at, our elders and we're like, the way they do it, blah, 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 blah. And then we're there and we're looking down at the young people and we're like, what are you doing? And they're looking at us and like, what are you doing? And it's like,
Right,
it's like, there's a crest and there's the bottom of every wave. And they're
right.
never really lining up. But when it does line
Mhm.
up, it's beautiful. Like the shows that my daughter watches, sometimes it's like, Lord, give me strength.
What is she like? What's her favorite?
Oh, the Wiggles.
Okay, because I gotta ask. I had to pause when I went, because I'm like, I don't know what's the new stuff right now with
Oh,
kids.
oh,
The
there's so
Wiggles.
much though. There's so much. That's the other thing is that, like, what did you grow up on? Like, if I had
Oh
to
my
think,
gosh. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. We're talking
Oh,
about
I maybe yeah. I love Fred Rogers though. That guy's the man. Fred
yeah, Mr. Rogers.
Rogers.
I don't know if you knew about Romper Room. I'm gonna really go like way back. Captain Kangaroo.
I've heard of him.
Hey,
I've heard of him. Yeah.
you know what's so funny is I actually was on a child TV show which was called Wow in DC when
I
I was 5,
yeah.
and it was Howard Hughes. Right now, honestly, it was on WDCA TV in Washington D.C. And we came down a sliding board, and I come down, I go, wow.
Yeah.
And so when I thought about Romper Room and things like that, that's what we did. And we did work in educational piece and things like that on the show. I cannot find any footage or anything like that now, but if you go on like YouTube or something like that, you can pull out Wow or WDCA TV,
I gotta check that out.
which was from years ago. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you this, honestly, this was 1980.
Yeah. But I love that. Like when you watch stuff from like 1980, then well, okay, I grew up in 89. And like you sometimes watching the shows from back then, you're like,
Wow.
whoa,
It's like,
like X-Men from the
wow.
90s. Yeah, yeah. But X-Men from the 90s, it was like the opening scene was like image, 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 image. And
Image,
it's like,
yes.
and I'm like, no wonder I have ADHD. Like it was like, I can't follow this, and the music was great. But now we watch shows and it's like there's so many choices, right? Like, and then and it's YouTube, which is beautiful, putting your stuff up on you. YouTube's awesome, but there's
I
so much
know.
out there, right?
Yeah.
And so,
YouTube is I love it.
yeah,
I think at some point where it's free that we can log on, they're gonna start to switch that over. I've been saying that for years.
they're going to make us pay for a
I'm
subscription.
pretty sure, yeah.
Oh man, you know what
That's
though? But
my theory.
yeah, yeah, no, what Netflix, they keep charging more money.
They are. I want to tell
Yeah,
you, I just looked at my Netflix. If it wasn't $19 now, or
Netflix.
almost $20, yeah.
Well, it's but it just makes you guess, like Disney Plus. I'm sorry, but that one, like
Yeah.
sacrifices have to be made. That's the one that I'm choosing, like because
Yeah.
Sophia, my daughter, you know,
Yeah. I subscribe to that. I let my youngest
yeah,
son do that. When he asks for something, I'm like, he must really like it. And if it's Disney, all right, cool.
yeah, yeah, yes. Well, the new Bubba Fett one, my daughter's like Bubba Fett, and I'm like, okay,
Oh.
yes, yeah.
Now for me, I don't know about you. I don't have cable. I've been streaming
Yeah,
for about 2.5 years. I don't
hardly
everything we
anybody has
watch.
it.
I
Yeah,
watch Hulu.
yeah,
If it's something I'm really into, because I'm not home enough to really sit and watch TV to pay $300 a month for
no,
cable, and I don't watch it. So we actually stream, and then I have like like an antenna or something like that. That's HD, and I can see things that way because I just refuse to pay for cable anymore. I'm not gonna do it.
LaKeisha, I think the future is the internet. Like, just
Oh yeah,
well, the fact that we've connected on here, like we connected through social media.
yeah,
I mean, it's so wild that you can make these connections that are meaningful with people,
exactly,
you
exactly. I'm
know,
all about
and
networking. Yes.
yeah, but
Mhm.
that's it, right? And then especially during, the pandemic, that's what kind of
Yeah.
switched us into this world, which of course has its pros and its cons, services to services, as we say. But
Right.
it actually has made me positive about globally the world, that
Yeah.
you can find these connections because sometimes we get messages that are like, well, you know, there's a lot out there that is out there, right?
It's out
And
there.
and it can
Yeah.
get you sad and down. But then when you meet people and you talk about good things and the road
Yeah.
forward is now, it is beautiful.
Yeah, you're so right about that. In the beginning of the pandemic, I was doing um a lot of virtual comedy shows, and I had a chance to work with some comedians that was on the West Coast that was on TED Talks, and just people that you never probably would have met if you was just going into a regular venue or an establishment. So I really have had it was cool to do it, right? But it was also weird. It was
Yeah.
also like it was therapeutic for me, like we're in the therapy office, telling jokes. Sometimes I actually don't tell jokes, honestly.
Oh, it's muted.
Okay. In the beginning, I started out telling jokes, right?
Yeah.
Now it's just like after a while, when reality starts to hit with life, you just I start speaking and talking more about life and things that's happened that I find that's funny. It might be dry humor funny, So, but I enjoy virtual comedy, but it is it challenges you a little bit.
Yeah.
But everything with the pandemic challenged us, It really did. Yeah. Um, so it has its pluses and its minuses. But it is what it is. And I may even right now start to go back and do a little bit more virtual comedy because of COVID or whatever else is going on with us right now. I actually
Yeah.
didn't even start doing comedy until 2018. Um, my dad had passed away a few years before that. And then someone that, was really close to my heart. One of my best friends, she committed suicide in 2015. And then
Mhm.
right after that, um my significant other had passed away of a brain aneurysm. And I've just been through a lot that, like most people, right? And so comedy came about for me in the last 4 years. But other than that, my study and my what I've been doing for the longest time has truly been theater. I love acting. I studied through LMG. I had an agent, which was LMG was my mother agent, and then Talent Inc. If you ever look them up too, Talent Inc. is based out of Florida, and they prepare you for acting, improv, things like that. So that's what I've been doing for a while. But I really fell in love with theater and just acting, and that's therapeutic too. Everything for me is
Yeah.
therapeutic. It's therapy.
Yeah. But that's good. It's better out than in, as they say, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You find, remember I said earlier, with kids, you find out what their passion is and what they are passionate about. Even as adults, you find something that you're passionate about and move forward. Have fun. You only live once, like they always say. You know, but have fun with whatever it is that you do, and have people that's around you that love to do the same things you do too. Yeah, absolutely.
For
Hmm.
me, I don't know, in my mind, because I have this imposter syndrome. And I think it's healthy to have an imposter syndrome to some extent,
Hmm.
just when you're like, oh, like really me, anyways, it's good to have that.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's harder to perform. I'd rather perform in front of strangers than like people I know. That's my own insecurities, because it's like people I don't know, they're just gonna go about their day after and be completely unchanged, or
Yeah.
they'll be like, whoa, that was really, blah, blah, and they might talk about it. But if I perform in front of my whole family, it's like I can never escape that performance that I just had.
Right.
Because I've done comedy on stage and on Zoom as
Okay.
well. And just because I love speaking,
Hmm.
you know, like, which is rich coming from me as I'm speaking, talking my mouth off. But it's good because you're right. It's therapeutic, you know? So who was it that encouraged you to seek this therapy?
You know what? I think it was when the comedy came about with the therapy part was around a lot of friends that do comedy, right? And I used to tell them, I'm going to try this. And they were like, no, you're not. I was like, I want to try this. And
Ah,
somebody gave me 3 minutes at their show. And I'm silly,
yeah,
so I'm silly. Comedy has been like, like Richard Pryor.
you're light too. You're light. Like when the world's
Yeah,
heavy, right? Yeah,
so it's like Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, people like that,
yeah.
they get up and they did straight stand-up comedy. Then you have the Instagram or social media comedians that are
Mhm.
making money that way too.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm more silly, I believe. But I find the humor and the way that I find it, I think it's funny. It may not be funny to everybody, and that's okay. But
But it's
for
authentic.
me, yeah. Well, for me, I love to laugh. I love people. I love to see people happy. Even when I do also with Ovation Theater, we do live performances or live dinner theater. We haven't done it probably in about a year now. But in April I'll be back. So if you're eating dinner, I'm performing around you, just doing some whatever. I may be dressed up as somebody, and we just do a whole scene. So one day we do Joey and Gina's comedy wedding, and I play Sister Fista, which is a nun that has lost her mind. Now I'm black.
Yeah,
Everybody else is white, and they're
yeah.
Italian. So they adopted me into their family. But somewhere in between this whole skit thing, I start pulling out weed and smoking it while I'm with Father Goldstein, which is Italian, to keep him in check. So it's really hilarious. And then we do the facts of life. We do a lot of stuff that's back in the 80s. So I love stuff like that. It's really
Yeah.
corny. It's goofy and corny, but it's fun.
Yeah. And fun is good. But uh Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy, like a good comedian. Okay, Oscar Wilde said it best. This is a quote that I love, and this is why
Okay.
I got into comedy. Okay, this is my secret. But if you want to make people think, you better make them laugh, or else you become a target.
Become a target. That's right.
He says they'll kill you. That's his exact.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to make people think, better make them laugh, or else they'll
You
kill
better
you.
make a laugh.
Like,
Yeah.
whoa.
And you know what? Yes, I love that. And the other thing is too, when people feel that you're real and you're genuine,
Yeah.
they can feel that. You
You
know,
can
like back
sense
in the
that's a
day,
gut feeling. That's a gut
yeah.
feeling,
Back in
right?
the day, people telling jokes and it's like they're not laughing, they're not laughing. But
Yeah.
it's like, be you. Because they
Yeah.
can relate.
Yeah.
They can relate to what's funny to you or whatever. And like I said, you're not gonna appease everybody. However, they can relate to you being real. And most of the time, the people that don't get on stage or they come to a show is because they're feeling some kind of way and they're afraid to. People don't know how to open up and express themselves. So
Absolutely.
if they listen to you and you got the courage to get up and do that in front of people, you don't know whose life you're saving or who
Yeah.
you're just making just feel like. And I had that happen. I'll get off stage and they were like, I just really loved you. And I'm like, I know it was trash in my mind, not to beat myself up.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, I really love whatever. And that's how they felt. That's how you made someone feel. And if I made you feel some kind of way from meeting me and seeing me either host an event or listen to my podcast, same thing. I have people all over the world that's just listening to me, and it's majority women in
Yeah.
different countries. So when somebody in a different country is listening to my podcast and it's a woman or whoever is going through, you don't know who you're saving. You don't know
Yeah.
whose life you're saving. And I love that. I love the podcast world. I love radio because we're reaching people. And like you said earlier, look how we've met, through social media. And I think that's a great platform. I really do. I love it. Now, if I can go visual like this all the time, I would probably love it more.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so I was listening to William Watson, which by the way, that's a school that I worked at when I was younger. Like in my career, I worked there as a teacher at William Watson Elementary. So I was
Oh,
having like a weird connection there. I was like, whoa, that's weird. This guy. Anyways, so I
yeah.
listened to that one. Now he was in Baltimore. So do you interview people locally or do you do internationally kind of thing or
You know
what?
what? I work with Mr. Watson doing he's a promoter that I do with some comedy shows right here in Baltimore.
Yeah,
Now,
powerful
the
story,
people
man.
that have been on there has been a mayoral candidate that was for Baltimore. She was running in 2020. I met her through Mr. Watson. Then I had someone on there. The people that I have had on there, comedians, personal friends that just have stories. But
Mhm.
my podcast has been about healing.
Yeah.
It's been about anybody that want to get on here and just talk about a story. And I think that's probably why I haven't gone visual with it. If you get on there and one friend, she's like, what, I had depression my whole life and this or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what they want to share. Now, does somebody want to always, do I want to expose somebody's face to that right now? I don't know. It's been 2 years. And then you know what? Because it's so touching, it's a touching situation as far as your journey and healing. Sometimes I feel like doing it, sometimes I don't.
Mhm.
Because it's emotional. Even after I did,
It's exhausting.
it can be.
It can be. Yeah. Yeah.
It can be when you're listening to someone's story, but it's their truth. It's just how
Yes.
they feel. Even if it's myself, right? I'm sharing my own story. Then I've had a family member that talks about the masterpiece being, anything that's encouraging, that's positive, loving yourself, shifting and discretion. And I've had a lot of things on there that was really personal to me, but it was almost like I was speaking to myself, And so that's always a good thing because we don't always have maybe the right people that's around us to kind of open up and share to. However, I've learned that podcasting has helped me to be on a different platform of just being real with myself,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Well,
And
and you even mentioned that, like you talk about journaling, and this is kind of your form of journaling, right? Where
journaling, exactly.
out there and because going back to what you're saying when you first went up there for to do stand up,
Mhm.
you know, and in our minds, there's that imposter syndrome, that thing that resists us from doing what we've always wanted to do. Joseph Campbell, he talked about, his quote is, behind the, I'm paraphrasing here, behind the cave you fear to enter hides the treasure you seek to find. And so
Mm.
many of us, we don't want to do the journey, right? We're
Yeah.
afraid.
Ooh,
What if
yes.
we live there? And you talk about going for it, right? So again, when you like, how did you go for it with comedy? Because 2018, I'm not a math guy. 4 years ago, right? The
Yeah, we
world was a
saw,
different place.
yeah.
The
You know
world
what?
was a different place.
I just was I was crying a lot. Sometimes you feel like, for me, and I say this often, you feel like you losing in life. When you start to lose people, and I have to bring that up right now because not to be selfish. Every time I go on social media right now, my
Mm,
Facebook or whatever, people are losing their children. They've lost
yeah,
so many people to COVID, Corona, of course, same thing. But I never thought that we would see anything like this ever in our lives, right? So I got tired of crying. I got tired of feeling like I'm losing whatever. But really, you're not losing. It's like I said in the podcast, you were never losing. It's all it because death is a part of our lives. It's a part of what's going to happen. And
yeah,
none of us can escape it. None of us can escape certain things that's going to happen in life. But you have the opportunity to change your outlook and what you want for you. If you don't want nothing, I'm gonna tell you, I do this all the time. If somebody around me, they don't want something, bye.
yeah,
I'll see you later. I'm gonna give you a little bit of wiggle room to figure this out. And after a while, I gotta step on. I have to
yeah.
move on. I gotta step on and move on, whatever. So for me, I just jumped out there with comedy. I realized that when I was doing with Ovation Theater, doing the dinners, and one time we did a performance for a retirement home. When they brought these people in to watch us, I lie to you now, right? I'm like the only Black girl all the time out in these areas, right? But I love it because it don't bother me, right? And I was like, everybody that rolled in there was on oxygen. They were elderly. They were
Mm.
sick. This probably was about 3 years ago. And when I performed, they shook my hand. They were happy. They were everything when I got off. And I got in my car and I left. And when I left, and I cried because we're gonna be older and be senior citizens at some point. And you don't. And it just, I just cried. I was like, you know, I. You get the joy out of making someone's day
Yeah.
or their moment. You don't even know how you make somebody feel. So for me, comedy, when I did it, I was just like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna be me. And that's why I say each and every day when you get up, with your daughter, right? Just two. Hey, this is our day. She gonna wake up some days. She's just happy and flowing. And she gonna wake up some days she's just cranky, you know.
I know that.
And that's just who they are, because kids don't know how to express. They don't know emotions. They don't know change and difficulty. They don't know that like we do. So they're gonna express through crying, through whatever, because they don't know what to do. So for me, jumping out there with comedy was like, I'm gonna
Mm,
do this. I don't care who doesn't like what I do. I think the biggest thing that I fall into, sometimes that gets discouraging, is people that you meet along the way.
yeah.
In this business, some people want to take advantage of you, and for women, it's hard.
Mm,
And so you almost have to be careful of who you're around, who you're trusting, because not everybody has your best interest. So you got to be careful with that.
you're like me. If you're like me, you might be a very trusting person, right?
Could be a
In
trusting
this
person.
world, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
And somebody could take advantage of you for something that you love to do, and it
yeah,
discourages you.
yeah.
So I'm very cautious and I'm very careful. Yeah. It's
Mm,
sad that I have to be that way because whatever it is that you love to do, you should be excited about, but you have to be wise too.
Yes.
You gotta be
I,
wise.
a student got me this cup. I think that her parent got me this cup, but it said, follow your heart, but take your brain with you.
There you go.
And I've heard it many times, the hardest journey in our lives is the distance between our hearts and our minds, and
That's right.
bridging those two.
Yep.
Because, that's why being a parent and you observe your child, you're like, you start to understand yourself better. At least I have, and I'm
You
like,
do, yeah.
yeah,
You
and
really
stay,
do.
thank you, all these crazy things, right?
You know what?
Now,
You're so right. Like when I walk in my classroom, I'm with like 4 and 5-year-olds. And even if I'm doing attendance, right? So everything
yeah,
is virtual, my tablet or whatever. And I always say, such, how you doing today? How are you? And I could
yeah,
wake up just groggy and funky before I get to work. I gotta get all this off my chest. But kids like to feel validated.
yes,
They want to feel like but because they do matter. They're
absolutely.
like little angels. They depend on us to be there for them and to guide them and to. So hey, when you get, I'm like, hey. As soon as I walk in there, I'm like, how's it? How are you? I love your outfit and I
Yeah.
love this. And you know what I mean? You got to turn up for a
And you,
minute.
and you see their eyes light up?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you don't know what they're going through at home.
Yeah.
So I'm goofy
Man,
like that.
those kids are lucky, I can tell. Right?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm just so
but
goofy
we
like that.
know as parents, we know that like all that we want for our like we just want the best for our children. And,
Yeah.
and like as a counselor, I work with some pretty intense situations where parents are
Yeah.
pretty pissed off, right? And I just bring it back down and I was like, hey, I want what's best for my daughter. And like, because I want that, I want what's best for your kid too. But I
Right.
don't
And
necessarily know what your conception of that is, because
yeah.
as a friend of mine says, you misunderstood me wrong,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're
Mm-hmm.
always we're doing our best to understand each other, whoever it is we're working with. But man, like there's gonna be it's we got to seek to clarify, right? And if
I
we
love
seek to
it.
understand
Yes.
the world's always looking up,
Yep. You
right?
speaking to my spirit tonight or today?
Oh, yeah, you're
Because
fine.
I'm in Washington D.C. So yeah.
Yeah. What?
So
Yeah. Go. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So you're really speaking to me because it's so true. Yeah. I'm gonna say hallelujah, praise the Lord. Okay, go ahead. Back
Oh
at you.
no, no, no.
Well,
Well,
I love it though, man. You just touching me so much. It's like, okay, this moment was meant for me to hear all of this today and tonight. But
but that's the
yeah.
same thing that you're doing though when you do these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, what got you into teaching?
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I'm a teacher, right? So I like, man, there's the jobs that we like, the measurement of a nation greatness, whatever it is, in how it treats its children,
Yeah. I'm
right?
passionate about kids.
Yeah,
Because I grew up in Washington, D.C., and at that time, Mayor Marion Barry was our mayor. Washington, D.C. was at a bad place at
yeah,
those times with a drug epidemic. And I struggled with living in the inner city where we didn't have, I lived in poverty, and we didn't have certain things that we needed to have teachers that was around us that really cared. And I hate to say that because I can't speak for all teachers, but I
yeah.
will tell you that I was being passed on each year, and I struggled with reading. I struggled with math. Oh, yeah, until I probably got to 6th grade or 7th grade, I had to go to special reading classes, math and things like that. Even when I got to college, I had to take all of this stuff all over.
Yeah.
Not getting any credits my first year of college. I had to go back through reading. I had to go back through math. So that's what made me say, you know what? Early childhood education is the key. You have to start off with them while they're young. Yeah, start them while they're young. And then I was deaf in my right ear for a minute, and I'm not now, but
Mhm.
so that your health and certain developmental things kind of get in the way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So there were some issues there growing up in the inner city when you don't, your parents may not have the resources and the money and things like that to make sure that you have what you need, you know. And so those are some issues there. But it made me, when I went to high school, I studied 2 years of television production, and then I did 2 years of early childhood education. And I went with the education piece. I really did. I went with education because it's no money in it. I ain't making no, I'm not making no, oh my God. But look, I
I
really,
know. I'm in it too.
like,
It's
brother,
so
I'm like, look, is
yeah.
this worth it?
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that it's like they almost it's like they know that the people like teachers are not paid enough anywhere in the
They're not
world,
paid, yeah. And
right?
police officers too.
Because so many teachers that get into it like yourself, they do it because they believe in the intrinsic
Yeah.
worth of children. But
Children, yeah.
this this is a book that I got to read. It's called
Nice.
Childism.
Childism. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And I
would love to
interviewed
read
a
that on
lady
my
about
Kindle.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
I need audiobooks. I start reading this and I'm like I'm sleeping by 5 minutes. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's talking about how we can be prejudiced towards children,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And kids grow up living like you nailed it perfectly when you said kids just want us to take an interest in them,
And
right?
them, yeah. Because they are
Like,
human.
yeah,
They matter. They really,
yeah,
yeah.
they're little humans
They
and
matter.
full of love, right?
Yeah.
Like I brought my daughter to school one day. She's 2, and she's like looking at all these kids, and these kids, without asking, they're like, "Can we play with your daughter?" And they're so sweet with her. And man, turn off the news. Pardon my language. Turn that shit off. Watch this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will be hopeful,
I know,
right?
right? That's what's up.
Because you know, I feel my intuit is that you feel like me that like man sometimes in the world it can look pretty scary, but
Yeah.
then it's like sometimes you got to turn away from that projection and look at find that beautiful flower, find the flower coming through the concrete,
Hmm.
and that's a beautiful rose, man.
Right. I
And
really,
you're resilient, like you just said. You went to college and then you had to relearn it all,
I had to
like
take all that stuff. I was like,
yeah,
man, I'm still to understand the reading comprehension. Okay, wait a minute. And I passed all of that and went through college.
yeah,
Like, I'm gonna be a teacher because I don't want any kid to feel like I felt. I was so embarrassed when I had to leave out my
yeah,
class, go to special reading and go to special math. Like, I'm not gonna send nobody through this the rest of their life, you know. And it was really just about just having the support and the resources that we need as parents. We
yeah,
don't have that.
yeah,
We don't have that a lot. Yeah.
yeah,
We're just trying to get by, and our children are our future, you
yeah,
know, and if they don't have the know-how to make it and how to survive, I don't care if you can give your child so much materialistic stuff. If something ever hit like it's been hitting to with us in the last few years, they're gonna fail. They're gonna fall.
yes, yeah,
You have to give them love. You have to be able to talk to them. You have to be able to express and be real with them. Just like I said with comedy, be real. This
yeah.
is who I am,
Your best.
and just be real. And that's all you can do. And I think that's the best or the greatest example that you can do is being real and talking to your children. I remember when my oldest, he'll be 27 soon, and I used to sit with him when he was 4, and he was very wise. And as a 4-year-old, and I'll be like, you know what? But I'll be talking to him while I'm leaving work, and he just say something back. I'm like, this kid, okay.
Like, what's something he'd say? That
He would say stuff like, because I would say stuff like, look, I'm about to leave your dad, right? But
yeah, yeah,
I'm about to leave him. I said, well, how you feel
yeah,
about this? He was like, yep. No, I'm
yeah,
just kidding. But anyway,
yeah,
that's not true. But but it would be certain things like, you just talk to your kid and they say things to you and
mm,
you're like, they say stuff to you like they've been here before, So that was all a joke before. But they do. If you ever sit and talk to your daughter when she's like 3, 4, and they say stuff, you're like, hmm. Has this
Where did
kid
I
been here
come
before? Like, who or where have you been reincarnated? You know,
Yeah,
and they are little adults and little people that need a lot of support and a lot of guidance. And I didn't have that, so
right. But
it
you're
took me a
giving it
minute to
back.
get together.
A friend of mine said, and I can kick myself, in the butt or whatever, because it's like, oh, I'm doing what I love now, and my buddy was saying that he's like, I wish I would have started playing guitar younger. And I said, hey man, you're playing it now, like you're doing it now. And the reality is growing up, like you said, as kids, we can become insecure. So
Yeah,
being our vulnerable selves, you know, is
that's right.
difficult because we're worried that people are going to laugh, you
Right.
know. At least I was definitely insecure because, man, you should have
Mhm.
seen me play hockey. My dad would be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know, man. It's because it wasn't for me.
Yeah,
And
right.
man, that hurts your confidence, right? And like so many things for kids is that it's like we can misdiagnose kids, you know. And like you said, like their environments, if their environments aren't safe, it's gonna look like they can't learn how to read and write. And
Yeah,
it's not that they're unintelligent. Kids, man, they're
right.
not unintelligent.
Yeah, but
They
their world now is just totally
Yeah,
different from the way we grew up. Their
I know.
world now is, I feel like kids are not protected at all. They're not protected at home, and they're not protected out in the world. They're not protected at school. So somebody has to take a stand. I always say, if you don't stand for something, you're gonna fall for anything. And I
Yes.
really feel like kids are so vulnerable right now to our society in the way that we are, because we are having a hard time adjusting to things that we might have experienced as well.
Yes.
So that's what made me just say, I'm being an educator. Now I'm getting up there in age. I'm still going to keep doing it. I may end up going ahead and open up my own program. Um, whether I used to do tutoring and things like that. So who really knows right now? But that's really been my passion. Besides what I love to do with theater and things like that too, and with comedy. But I love kids. I really do. I just feel like they get overlooked a lot. Yeah.
But
Hmm.
that's so wonderful that, you know, you don't overlook them, right? And
Yeah,
somebody
I try
has
not
to take
to.
care
I
of
try
our
not
children
to.
and our elderly, right? But
Yeah.
who better than us? Because I'm like that too. I'm like, oh man, like, is this gig? It can be tough, right? And then
Yeah.
you're like, the things that you hear, and you're like, oh man, this like poor person. But then you got to realize that, when like life is all about, I'm learning this as I get older, like because I'm an empath, right?
Mhm.
And if you feel too much, the saying on the aircraft, right? We all love aphorisms, put your mask on before you try and put somebody else's, when you're on
Okay.
the airplane, because if you try to,
Yes.
you're gonna pass out.
Yep.
Not very helpful,
Right.
or as my buddy said, if you put all your eggs in one basket, I hope you like scrambled, you know.
Okay. Woo!
But
You
anyways,
giving
this
me the
idea,
chills tonight. Like, you are so speaking to me all night.
yeah.
Okay.
But this idea, now I forgot what I was gonna say. See, I told you this would happen.
No,
I
that's
always
because I'm so distracting. Like, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, you can't just think that you have all the answers, like
Yeah.
you have to be able to adapt, and that's what's tough for our kids, right? Is that
Yeah.
we're trying to navigate all these difficulties in the world.
Yep.
I
You know
don't think
what?
that was my original thought, but anyways.
But you know what? I think part of that too is we always we're always trying to be perfect.
Yes.
I don't even
Pressure.
know. I'm trying to think which episode I was talking about that. It might have been loving yourself or boundaries. It's
Boundaries.
still on
That's
my
what
head
we
on my
said.
podcast. But we're always trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with saying that I'm not perfect, right? And it's nothing wrong with making mistakes.
Yes.
Mistakes, not mistakes, mistakes. But it's nothing wrong with making mistakes because you're gonna learn. But that's what builds who you are. It builds your character. It builds your character. So I embrace the mistakes. If I'm gonna make a mistake, I did it. I made a wrong
Yes.
decision. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's anything that I've done that may have not been the best decision or best choice, right? And so it's okay to, this not for something isn't for me, or a decision I made wasn't for me. And you chop it up, you suck it, you tried at it, and you keep it moving, you
Yes.
know. And I feel like that with anything in our lives, whether it's work. I never stay in a position or a job, especially in education. You can
Mm.
work for some folks, schools and programs, and they just not doing the right things. I don't stay because at the end of the day, it affects my credentials. It
Yes.
affects my character and my spirit. Right? They're not doing the right thing by kids. I don't want to be behind nobody's program like that. I can't do it because we
That's
all,
integrity.
yeah, because we right, but we all know as educators is almost like people that are doctors or lawyers. It's almost like you take an oath, right? And
The Hippocratic Oath.
yeah. So it's like, I mean, look, you don't want to do right. I want to be a part of your program.
Mm.
I want to do things the right way. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to make mistakes, but at least, excuse me, if your heart is right and you're making the right choices, that you think are the right choices, it's going to work for you. What you put out there in the world, what you sow into the world, your energy and your spirit, it's gonna come back to you when you least expect it. When things in my life felt like I was losing, I wasn't gonna make it. Everything always came back to me right when I needed it. I never could sit here and say during the worst times of my life of my feelings of what I felt and when felt like I was losing. I wasn't losing. You're never losing. You
Yes.
just learning and growing. You embrace it. I embrace this bad day I had today. I embrace this
Yeah.
great day I had today. I embrace this new love or this new whatever it is. But it's the work that you got to put into everything or anything. Nobody wants to put in any work and nobody wants to change.
They want it now.
They want it now. They don't want to put the work in.
They want prime delivery. They're like, I wanted that yesterday. Well, it takes effort.
They want
Oh,
stuff. People want to walk into stuff like they at Magic Kingdom and everything is there.
yes.
Well, if you walking into a situation, you gotta add.
Mm.
I need people that's around me, my friends or whoever, walk into my life to add. Anybody that's in your life to add, whether it's working in education, you're adding to these children.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You're adding to your loved one or your spouse, whatever. You're adding constantly. You're constantly always looking at yourself. Where can I grow at? Where can I help? How can I be better? Because I'm not perfect. You're not perfect, but what can we do as a team?
Yeah.
Because you can't do it by yourself. What can I do as a team? And when you got a team player, somebody in your life that want to be a team and just walk and say, I want to be a team with you. I don't want to walk into your life or to your situation or walk into your school or whatever and it's already made up. No, you're a team. And if we're going to be a team, we're going to be a team player. If you don't want to be a part of my team, bye.
Yeah. And that's
Don't waste
boundaries.
my time.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't waste my
I've
time.
gotten better at being firm in my life, but like, and it's all in delivery. Like our world is very, correct me if I'm wrong, but my observation is we are sensitive. And
Yeah.
that is good
Ooh,
and bad.
yes.
It's good that
Yes.
we talk about our feelings, but let's not weaponize them. Like when people are like, I'm feeling very triggered right now. It's like, okay, but why? Like
Mhm.
we ha- we can't avoid we can't just live our lives avoiding discomfort because
Yeah.
discomfort, as you've said, that's where we learn. When we fail, that's where we learn. But it's
Right.
like we're so hyper avoidant of failure. And it's like,
Right.
man, and you've shared, you know, your life, you have never every obstacle, you're like, man, just a wall. Right? If there's no door, well, it's drywall. You just cut the door, you make your own
Keep
door.
it moving. Keep it moving.
Right?
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
You put that band-aid on it and wrap it up, it's gonna hurt. Because it's things that's gonna hurt. But that's a part of our journey. Everything is not gonna be roses. Matter of fact, I don't even want roses. I embrace. That's why I call it embrace. I embrace. I might have a bad day. I might embrace that I had a bad day today.
Mm.
Such and such in my class. He wrote all on the glue and the wall, paint and stuff, and everything is just crazy.
Roses die. Scars last forever.
Right. Exactly. So it's just like you just embrace. You take it one day at a time, because if you try to put everything together, like, this is how I want to see this whole big picture, it's going to overwhelm you, and you're going to fail, and then you're going to feel like a failure. And I don't like to feel like a failure. I want to feel like, you know what? I gave something 110%. At least I can walk away from something and say, I tried, I gave it this and that. You can't save everybody. You can't save every situation. Somebody got to want it. You got to want whatever for yourself. If you don't want it, don't waste nobody's time. Don't waste your time. People got to want what they want. And you got to want greatness, and they got to want better for themselves. And that's how I kind of got into Simplicity Podcast. I want better, but I've been through so much. Not that my situation was any worse than anybody else's, but I just know that I can help maybe another young lady or a young person or a woman or a young man or whoever, or anybody that's been through tragedy and trauma and PTSD or whatever the hell we all messed up. Look, we all messed up right now at the pandemic, but we still in it. Yeah, because the trauma is wearing these masks, because this is too much for me. But we gotta wear it.
Right? That's why this is great. We're using our full face to express.
I know. I gotta identify people by their eyes, and that's not working for me because my eyesight is changing.
I'm gonna have wrinkles from it because I'm
my eyes are changing.
Overcompensating.
Yeah. So that's a great thing about life. That's what Simplicity Podcast is about. Growth, healing, and being the best you. And embracing life.
Yeah. It was like you have a very, calm voice, and I was listening to
it
by itself, and I was just like, I wasn't putting me to sleep, but it was relaxing me. It was
relaxing,
yeah. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm ready to go to sleep.
You ready to go to sleep?
I wanted to hear the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Because there's wisdom there, and like,
right.
And I could hear in the William Watson one that you have a good connection with this guy.
Man, when I got off of that one, I cried. I'm trying to cry, baby. I'm a Pisces. I'm so emotional. I cried.
Oh, me too.
I'm gonna tell you, I cried because I have been working with him and doing stand-up comedy, and pretty much I've been like hosting a lot of his shows of comedy. And when about 2 years ago, I should have had him on the podcast, and I just was probably busy or whatever. But what happens is with the podcast, the people that I'm around, they're like, you didn't put me on your show. You didn't do this or that. But it's not that I didn't put them on there. I'm like, what do you want to talk about? Is a story that you want to tell? You want to share? Because if you open for that, cool.
Yeah.
But it's not a comedy series.
Yeah.
No, it's like you sharing whatever. Like, and also too, the mayoral candidate that I had on there, I met her through Mr. Watson. And her husband is Kenny Bazemore, which is a legend from the boxing world. He's older now, but he probably was around in the 80s with like Sugar Ray Leonard and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So Kenny Bazemore, Kenny Bazemore, and his wife Zulika Bazemore is from Washington, D.C., where I'm from. And she was on the show. I just did also with that another show with she was running last year for Baltimore Cummings seat. Representative Cummings had passed away. Mm-hmm. And so I've been around the politics with certain folks. Where she was a Republican that backed Trump, President Trump, on a lot of things. But I don't get into, when I meet these people in the comedy world, or they come on the shows and they do certain things, I don't judge them. I mean, if you trying to make a change in the world for whatever it is you want to do, cool. But the podcast
has a reason.
Yeah. Yeah,
Doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it. Like, I don't always have to agree, but
you are
I
right.
understand,
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree, but I can understand. And the more, like, Sigmund Freud, he talked about the narcissism of small
Mm-hmm.
differences. Think about Christianity. It's like, like there's so many different sects, and
Right.
people can argue about it, but it's like, really, you guys are in it for the same thing, right? Or any religion, you're in it for the same
The
thing.
same thing. And
It's
I
like
yeah,
the love, right?
that's
Anyways,
right. That's why I don't judge anything with
yes,
anybody.
yeah.
I just met her probably
You can
last.
always find something to split hairs about.
Oh
And
yeah.
some things are obviously significant,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like, if we just see our humanness, that's what's going to give the world some hope, I
That's right.
think.
Absolutely. I love you. I've been saying that all night because you've been preaching to me really like the whole last hour.
I'm sorry
I
for
might have
preaching.
needed that today.
Yeah,
I really might need that today.
yeah.
You
But it's
know,
good both ways, you
yeah,
know?
right.
But you encourage people, man, you're that light,
I
right?
try to until somebody pissed me off. No, I'm just kidding.
But that's good
Then I'm
too.
like,
That's good too.
"Argh."
Hey, yeah,
but
yeah.
but honestly, I try to. I try to be that team player. I'm about what can I do where, and I was looking at this, what's going great in your life or good in your life, good or great. And I feel like good comes to us in our ways in our lives to be able to give that back to someone else. That's how I look at my life. I
Mm.
look at it as I don't even walk around talking about, oh, this happened to me, this happened to me. Oh my God, this happened. I
Mm.
don't even do that. I actually may talk about it in my podcast, and after a while, I'm like, you move on to something different, right? Because you're gonna always have something to talk about based on experience. If you don't experience something, you don't
Yes.
have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's just
know,
abstract. Yeah.
if you don't try something different, if you don't try a new restaurant, you don't know that restaurant was the service was great, the food might have been nasty, or the food was great and the service bad or whatever. So
Yeah.
I just feel like we have to be open-minded to a lot of things in life
Hell
and,
yeah.
and, and make the right choices. I'm back
Yeah.
in the classroom again. Making the right choices that's going to work for you. Because nobody, that's like I say on the podcast, nobody has been assigned to do what you can do.
No.
And nobody has been given a gift or a talent that was given to you. So this is a part of your journey, and you're in your journey right now, even with what you're doing with your podcast, even with in your daughter's life and everything. This is your journey, and when in your journey is your legacy. When you're dead and gone, you want somebody to talk about you like, "Hey, I'm not here no more," but LaKeisha was this or this person I met, and that's a legacy. We can still talk about people that are dead and gone. I say Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Not bad stuff. But look, we still talk about Michael Jackson to this day with
Yeah.
Thriller and Beat It and all of that. Or we may talk about who else is give me another name. Let me see. Uh Princess Diana or whoever.
Yeah.
You
But a
hear
legacy. Yeah.
legacy, right? So you always hear like, and I had to bring her up because I love watching what I watch on Netflix, which is The Crown. I don't know if you watched that.
Mm.
I watched The Crown, and I ain't gonna tell you how many times. But just
She
her
was
part,
badass, man.
huh?
Princess Diana was badass.
She was, but you know
She
what?
was up to people.
She had a good heart for
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
She had a good heart for people, and you see that in her son, her children. Especially the youngest one. So that's creating a legacy. Um, that when you're dead and gone, you've instilled. That's how I look at my children. I'm like, my
Mm.
kids, they're not wilding out, they're not doing whatever. But you know what? Maybe I instilled at some point in their lives to be great citizens, to be great people, but to be wise, but not be a fool to the
Yes.
world either. Because you gotta teach them that so nobody take advantage of them.
Yeah.
They don't get caught up in
Yeah.
certain things that they shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So, um,
To raise kids up with boundaries, to be firm but
yeah,
fair, man,
yes,
that's something to be proud of. Right?
absolutely.
Because because it's like you don't want to raise a kid who just gets fooled by everything. You know what I mean? Like, yes, be kind, but like if like come on, if you
Gotta put your
keep
foot down too, right? You gotta
yeah,
be
yeah,
wise.
yeah.
Gotta be
I
wise.
will. I know how to tell somebody off when I need to, but it's like at the same time, I'm the kind of guy. It's like, is it worth that energy? You know,
Yeah.
and that's the big thing. As I get older, it's like my emotions, they are they're valuable, and if something's gonna upset me, then my body's telling me something, right? We
Exactly.
got to
Yeah.
listen to ourselves.
And you gotta listen. That's like when your body tells you when you're tired, you're gonna rest. So your body does tell you a lot of things, and just like I said, staying centered and focused on your what's going on around you.
Yeah,
Watching behavior, listening to yourself, because nobody else know what you know, and you have to listen to you, and be patient with yourself.
mhm,
Be patient with yourself. A lot of people don't have that, which is not a bad thing to them, but just being patient with who you are and being true to yourself each and every day. Be
yeah,
true to who you are. If I don't want to eat this pizza or I don't want this for dinner, as well, I don't want it.
yeah.
So
It can be exhausting, but I try to tell myself, do as much as you can with intent. Like, what is your intent?
ooh,
Yeah. And sometimes I do things and it's like, like I used to love to party, right? In my 20s, because it
hmm
was a great distraction, right?
hmm
Whoa, party shots. I'm everybody's friend. But man, the next day would come and I felt like garbage.
you
So
feel
then
like
as I get older, but really it took come on. I'm making myself sound awfully heroic. It was my daughter
mhm,
that was like, dude, you can't do this. You got to keep
right.
this kid. But
Got to.
anyways, I started asking myself, what's the point? Why am I doing this? What am I trying to escape? Again, that intuition feeling.
hmm
You know? And it sounds like, you've been listening to that for a long time. Who would you say, like, music, comedy, who are your influences?
You know what? My influences as far as on the public spectrum would be I grew up listening to like TD Jakes, and now his daughter is Sarah Jakes Roberts.
Yeah.
Um because she started to move towards she's in the podcasting world, and also to me she is a motivational speaker as well. Um it's so many, whether it's singers or it's just so I can't even put my finger on it. It's just
How
so
about this?
broad.
You're a teacher. You're a teacher.
I'm a teacher, yeah.
Okay. So what's your favorite book? Like if you again, gut feeling, what's your favorite book? It doesn't have to be, of all time, but right now, what would you say is your
One
favorite?
if I'm reading to the kids or
Or just
that
in
type,
like like I love books, man.
I love books too. Like I
Yeah.
have so
I'm a
many
book
on my base
nerd. Yeah.
that it's just crazy. But a lot of the books that I do have that I've read over the years are inspirational.
Yeah.
Or like
What's one
Rick
that sticks
I
out?
say like Rick Warren books. You know,
Rick,
um Rick Warren has, I'm trying to think if I got it over there. I'm looking at it now. Because I have some of my books here in my room, and then I have the rest in my basement. Like
yeah,
seriously,
yeah, yeah,
I have a problem that now that I had the old Kindle, I have the new Kindle now.
yeah. I
And
can't do the Kindle. I'm so bad that way. I know that we have to consume less as this
yeah,
like there I go again, that I can understand things, but sometimes there's certain things that I can't always understand. And the Kindle, it's just like, I don't know, man, because there's a spoken word, there's a written word, there's the electronic word. And the
yes,
electronic word I get a lot of, right? And they
yeah,
say that, we got to get less of that. That's why I try to go to the library. Man,
right,
take a kid to the library. I don't know who made that rule up that you need to be quiet at the library, but that's BS.
yeah. I would say
Make
with my
noise at the library. Have fun, right?
yeah, when my kids are really little, I stay home, my oldest two, and taught them from home. But we would go to the library a lot because it was free. Now, at that time, we had books. So
Yeah,
that's where I have a lot of my books from.
yeah.
Um,
They're expensive.
yeah, so then when they came up with the Kindle, the electronic books, matter of fact, the library started putting books on CDs. or
Oh,
DVDs. So I will ride in the car listening to my CDs. Now I don't have that. Everything is USB. So I end up getting a Kindle a few years ago. Now I have the much more updated Kindle that I bought this year, or well, late last year. So it depends on your lifestyle. If you need
absolutely.
to, listen to it audible, you want to go. I'm on to go. I gotta listen to it everything on Audible. Just like my podcast, or if I listen to Sarah Jakes Roberts podcast or any podcast, I'm on the go, so I gotta listen. Even if
Mhm.
I can listen to my classroom on downtime or my lunchtime. But my favorite books or my favorite author probably would be Rick Warren, and those are more inspirational books. Anything about life,
Mm.
the rewards of life, things like that. I get really personal with. Over the years, what I've read, I think it's all been, if it wasn't certain books, novels or stories, through Zane, it's like those old authors that's been around for a long time. But I think I don't have like a favorite except for or if they're inspirational and it catches my eye, I'll read it.
Mm.
But I haven't gotten into books like I used to, which probably I think because I'm always
Yeah. Yeah.
so it has to be something like I don't even watch a lot of TV. That's why I don't have cable because I'm not sitting still long enough to. Now, if I can get into a series or something that really catches my eye, I'll do it. But other than that, I really am always all over the place a little bit where I haven't really had a chance to sit down and read a book like I used to. Yeah, but if I did, if I had my favorite artist, author, excuse me, will be Rick Warren. You got
I gotta check them out.
Yeah, when you Google it, yeah, because it's so many books and so many things that I have in my home of Rick Warren,
Yeah.
that's about life or anything that's in the rewards of whatever it is, that of God or whatever the life rewards. So those are some things that I have read over the years because I have a lot of just quotes and inspirational things and affirmations around me. So, yeah. And I used
Well,
to read
that's
all the
awesome.
trash too. I got my trash books.
That's good. Oh, you got to relax too, right? Like that's
I got
one thing that I
trash,
gotta.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to
Things that
check
you're just
out.
like,
Yeah, I got to check out what you showed me today as
oh,
well
this
because
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to
Well,
find that on I'm going to find that on my Kindle
yeah,
because
it's
that looks very interesting.
I've read excerpts and it's
It's good.
especially as a counselor. I mean, again, so many times in life, what we hear being expressed through other people, we already know. We just
Mhm.
haven't heard the words structured that way before. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like sometimes I hear people and I'm like, oh yeah. But the oh yeah, you already kind of knew that because
yeah.
it connected. You know what I mean? Like when you have these aha moments.
Mhm. I'm checking
So
the book out.
yeah.
Yes.
So when you read it, you'll be like, you already do that, right? Because the way that you are with your kids, you know, I mean, it's LaKeisha, they sound very, very lucky, right?
Yeah, you got to be stern too. You got to put your foot down.
Oh yeah,
You got
but
to put down
that's it.
for it, right?
Boundaries, right?
Back
It
up.
can't just be, yep.
You gotta have boundaries. You have to, and you have to. Like I think I did another episode. It was talking about boundaries because it was a book that I was carrying. That was a little small book. I've been
Mm,
carrying for years, and I talk about that on the episode of boundaries. And you have to create that, and you have to be okay with saying no to
yes.
certain things in life, and being okay with saying no. This is not. This is not what I want. This is being true to you. So boundaries is another favorite one of mine that I was able to speak on. I've even learned how to like if I do the podcast, I'm gonna. Hey, I would love for you to do it with me too. I'm not
I
on
would,
video, but you're gonna be.
yeah,
It's probably gonna feel so weird to you because you're not on video. But we're gonna just
we
I
could do that.
include whoever you want on there with you.
Yeah,
So, but
my
I love
pleasure.
it too because it's so many people, like I said, that are listening around the world
Yeah.
and they'll follow and follow you and listen to what you have to say as well. So I've been enjoying it. I wish I think because I spent so much time on in the podcast about healing and your journey
Mm,
and knowing who you are, sometimes it's a little bit emotional for me.
yeah.
So if I may not do a podcast, or I may not do an episode for like a month or two,
Yeah.
and then I gotta regroup, and then I'm like, I've been doing it based on, I think the pandemic really got me.
Mm,
I think that got me slowed down a little bit. Where if I was so pumped about it in the beginning of 2020, I was so pumped, and then it's like now with my friends and with my family and people that I see, they're losing their children and their
mm.
relatives, and I just, it's a lot. Yeah, it's overwhelming, but I still know that life goes on. Life goes on, but at least I can talk to them about one of my episodes of the journey and then grieving or grief
Yeah.
and getting through grief and getting through whatever, because you got to feel what you feel, but then life goes on, because that's a part of our journey. It's a part of our lives that we're always, none of us are going to be here forever, but make the most of what you can do and make each day count, make each hour count, your time, make it count.
Well,
Absolutely.
hey, I love it. And thank you for, thank you for coming on here and sharing your wisdom.
Thank
And
you. You made it
yeah,
happen.
it's already an hour and 16 minutes because I'm like, okay,
That's okay.
LaKeisha,
All right.
I got an hour. And then it always is like, you go way past it. I'm
You
like,
know what? I'm cool
but
with
I
whatever.
always want to be respectful of your time.
No, you're fine. I'm cool with whatever. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me uh, on here, and just being able to talk and
Yes.
express myself, and just listening to you. You've really helped me a lot too tonight, with your wisdom, and I appreciate you. I do.
Well, hey, it's two people talking, right? And I think that, you know, having a chance to talk like this is good. You got me
Yeah,
off my phone. I'm because if I'm not careful, I'm doing the endless scroll and things like that.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah,
chance to connect and, again, to share our humanness.
yeah. So you do stand up. You do stand up comedy.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Not what, if I had to describe it, I would say I'm more like a wandering, like a wanderer. Again, like I try to be sort of like, I'm a bit of a thinker, right?
yeah.
And I've always been that way. Like the only award I got in high school was for theory of knowledge, which
Oh
is a
wow.
fancy word for philosophy. But it's
I,
like,
I see
like
that.
what is yeah.
I can
But
see that.
I love it, right?
Yeah, I can
So
see that from talking to you now, because I told you on two different occasions I got like a whole chill. I was like, "Ooh, he's speaking to me tonight. He's speaking to me."
yeah. But we should
Yeah,
that's mutual, right? Because
yeah.
you got me thinking about the things that I said. Because if I couldn't have this, we couldn't do this by ourselves. Could
Right,
you
right,
imagine? You know?
right. That's
And
right.
that's why I love this so much because I
Yeah.
get to share that
No,
energy
I
with
love
people.
it, and I love what you're doing, and you keep moving forward. Keep everything in front of you, and keep moving forward. And I think it's a great thing that you're doing. Same thing with anything that's on your heart.
Yeah.
I don't like that my podcast is like, okay, we telling stories, but and then I'm like, I don't want to talk for a month or two,
Yeah.
but somebody that you're touching and you're gonna touch, and you keep growing and keep moving in that direction. And I just see great things for you. Absolutely.
Well, hey, you got the queen earrings on, I mean, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm so goofy.
But but I love that, man. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm so thankful I got to meet you and this is, just the beginning, you know.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Thank
So now
you.
what time is it? Because you're in Maryland. You're in
Yeah, I'm in it's
DC.
8. Yep, it's 8:20. What time is it where you are?
5:20.
Oh,
Yeah.
lucky you.
I know. Yeah, yeah. But it's dark.
Yeah.
It's dark. Like where I am, we've had some crazy weather, and it just
Yeah.
again like things happen and you're just like, what you said it before, legacy. What is it that you want to be known for? Like
That's
Dolly
right.
Parton sang it best, 9 to 5.
9 to
There
5
is more to life than just
and a 9
working,
to 5.
right?
And just to finish up with, I love and I respect like my kids' age in their 20s. They're not afraid of anything. They're not afraid of change. That's
Mhm.
why when I did the shift is everything. We are in the shift in this world right now, in this universe. It's
Yes.
either you're gonna be a part of that shift and make it work for yourselves, and don't be afraid of anything or trying anything new, and don't be afraid of failing.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, so I love the younger generation. I love my kids' age and stuff like that because they're not afraid. When I was growing up, we was afraid. My mom stayed at her government job for 20,
Oh, I'm
30
still
years,
afraid.
40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like, "A pension for what?" You know what I mean? Like, don't do it just for that. Do it because you love it.
Because you love what
And
you
I
do.
wanna work forever, man. I wanna work to the day I die. There's
Right.
this okay, last book, I'm sorry, I'm bad this way.
Oh, no, you're
And
fine.
I see it right now.
Okay, let me see.
Have you heard of this book?
The choice.
Choice.
Ooh, I might have to write that one down too.
Okay, this one. If I could lend it to you, you know what I mean? If I could be like, "Whoop," and then it come on the other side of your screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kindle that one or audible it, but it's a beautiful story. It's this woman who
Hmm.
went through a very difficult time in her like horrific, the Holocaust. She was a Jewish inmate, and it's how she survived.
Mm-hmm.
And it's her
Oh,
story.
man.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna check that out, and the other one too. It sounds like I'm gonna listen to it, and I'm gonna follow up with you. I
Yeah.
love stories like that. You know, and I'm sure it's very. I'm just thinking about it. Her story is very inspiring
Yes.
because the
Yeah.
Holocaust.
And like it's in a way that, if we want to, do we want to live our lives angry? Because anger is
Mm,
destructive of our souls,
there you go.
like, do we want to live with love or do we want to live with
Just be
hate,
angry, right?
and
Hate. Yeah.
yeah, and I've read a lot, and man, like I've read brother Malcolm X, and his
Yeah.
autobiography, and he talks about that. Like at the end, he came to this conclusion. He was like, man, as long as you respect me,
Right.
that's what the world needs. But if you
Right. But
can't respect,
I get so torn between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X as far
yeah,
as, yeah, you want to fight back, but then what are you solving? But then when you're being peaceful like Martin Luther King, then what do you solve?
yeah.
It's like what do you do? You want
But
to say
now I think, hey, Jay-Z just hired his own private firm to investigate the Kansas City police. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that changes are happening, you know,
right.
and
Yeah.
and and we've been like, it's obviously not. I'm not the messenger for the
Yeah.
message,
Right.
and
Right.
that's an important piece, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like changes are happening,
It's happening. Yeah. That's
and
what I
and
say.
that's
The
the
shift.
shift that you speak about.
The shift.
Right? That's the connection.
The shift.
And
And
it's
it's
like,
like,
do we wanna ride the wave, or do what you resist persists,
yes, that
right?
shift.
That's not my own
I,
line. That's not my own line. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if anybody been watching that shift. Been happening for 2 years, and then when I did the podcast, it came about was in my heart. It was about restoration, and it was
Yes.
like the pandemic happened like 2 months after that. It was like everybody was sick, and I was
Isn't
like,
that crazy, eh?
and
Pandemic happens 2 months
I
after.
did
Now
my
that gives me
podcast.
chills.
Yeah, I was like, I
Now
did my podcast around restoration about what we felt like we were losing. And then all of these people, and hundreds of thousands of people, million people passed away, died. Like, really? So the shift is happening. I feel like it was like, restoring and restoration, but it's almost it's a change that's happening that we have to pay attention to. Yeah. Have to pay attention to. And it's not a horrible thing, but the shift and the change is not comfortable, and it's not going to be, but you have to be grounded, and you have to stay firm in your faith and what you believe. And
yes.
and that's the only way we're going to survive right now is we need each other. All right.
I love it.
Yeah.
LaKeisha, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I appreciate
Pleasure.
you.